Many years ago lived an emperor who was so fond of new clothes that he spent all of his money on dressing fashionably. He didn't care about his soldiers, he didn't care to go to the theater, or for rides in the country, except as a way to show off his new clothes. He had a different outfit for every hour of the day. So, instead of saying, "The emperor is in his court," people would say, "The emperor is in his dressing room." The big city where the emperor lived was very lively and attracted lots of visitors. One day, a couple of swindlers came to town claiming to be weavers. They claimed that they could weave the finest cloth imaginable with the most beautiful colors and the most wonderful patterns. Not only that, clothes made from this cloth had the amazing quality of being invisible to any person who was unfit for their position or who was really stupid. The emperor, who had a weakness for clothing, said, "These must be wonderful clothes. If I had such a suit, I could find out who in my empire is unfit for his job, and I could tell the clever from the stupid." He said, "You must weave this cloth for me at once." So he paid the swindlers a large amount of money so that they would get to work right away. The swindlers set up 2 looms and pretended to be hard at work, weaving late into the night. Right away, the swindlers demanded the finest silk and the most precious gold thread, which they simply put into their own bags. There was no thread in their empty looms, and the shuttles just went back and forth without weaving any cloth. After a while, the emperor started to wonder how his new cloth was coming along. But he felt a little uneasy about going to see it himself, since he knew that anyone who was unfit for their position would not be able to see it. He figured that he must be fit for his position, and that he was not stupid at all, but just to be safe, he decided to send someone else to take a look at it first. He said, "I will send my trustworthy old minister to the weavers. He is an intelligent man who will be able to judge the cloth, and besides, no one is more fit for his position than he is." By now, the whole city had heard about the amazing new cloth, and everybody was eager to see just how clever or stupid his neighbor really was. So the trustworthy minister went to the room where the 2 swindlers were busy working away at their empty looms. "My goodness," he thought, and opened his eyes wide. "I can't see anything." But he was careful not to say this out aloud. The 2 swindlers requested that he come closer to the loom and asked if he didn't admire the exquisite patterns and the beautiful colors. They pointed to the empty loom, and the old minister stared at it even harder, but he couldn't see anything, for there was nothing there to see. "Oh dear," he thought. "Am I stupid, or am I unfit for my position? I didn't think so. But I better not admit to anyone that I am unable to see the cloth." "Well," said one of the swindlers, pretending to weave, "you haven't told us what you think of the new cloth." "Oh, it is unusually beautiful," said the minister, squinting at the loom through his glasses. What fantastic patterns and what brilliant colors! I will tell the emperor that I am very pleased with the cloth." "Well, we're glad to hear that," said the swindlers, who then started to describe the patterns and colors in great detail. The old minister listened very attentively so that he could repeat this information to the emperor. Next, the swindlers asked for even more money, silk, and golden thread, saying that they needed it to complete their weaving. When they received this, they just put it in their own bags and kept on weaving on the empty looms. Soon, the emperor decided to send another honest official to see how the weavers were doing, but like the old minister, the honest official was not able to see any cloth in the looms, as there was none there to be seen. "Isn't this a beautiful piece of cloth?" asked the swindlers as they showed and explained the magnificent patterns, which in fact did not exist. "I am not stupid," thought the official, "so I must be unfit for my position. This is strange, and I must not let anyone know." In order to not make a fool of himself in front of the swindlers and to make the emperor happy, he decided to say something politically correct. So he lied as he praised the cloth with its lovely colors and wonderful patterns, and he told the emperor that it was magnificent. Everyone in town was talking about the amazing cloth, and finally the emperor wanted to see it for himself while it was still in the loom. With a group of trustworthy advisors, including the two officials who had already been there, the emperor went to visit the weavers. The swindlers were hard at work pretending to weave on their empty looms. "Isn't this magnificent?" asked the two honest officials who had visited there before. "Your Majesty must be pleased with the wonderful patterns and the glorious colors," they said, pointing at the loom while imagining that the others could see the cloth. "What's this?" thought the emperor. "I don't see anything at all. This is terrible. Am I stupid or unfit to be emperor? That's the worst thing that could happen to me. This cloth is very beautiful, and I certainly approve of it," he exclaimed, nodding his head and gazing into the empty looms. He couldn't possibly admit that he couldn't see the cloth. His group of trustworthy advisors stared at the empty loom, unsuccessfully trying to see something. However, they felt it was very necessary to say something politically correct to the emperor so that he wouldn't get upset at them. So they lied to him, saying, "It is such beautiful cloth," and they even advised him to get a suit made from this material for the great procession, which was to take place soon. "Ah, what superb material! What delightful fabric! And what excellent workmanship!" were some of the comments heard among the advisors, who seemed delighted. The emperor appointed the two swindlers weavers to the imperial court, and awarded each of them the Knight's Cross, which was to be worn from the buttonhole. The two swindlers worked through the night in order to get the emperor's new suit ready for the great procession. They burned 16 candles, and everyone could see how busy they were. They pretended to take the cloth out of the loom, to cut it in the air with big scissors, and to sew it with needles that had no thread. Finally, they announced, "Now the Emperor's new clothes are ready." The emperor arrived with his trustworthy court officials. The two swindlers lifted up their arms as if they were holding something, saying, "They are as light as a cobweb and so comfortable that you won't even feel that you are wearing anything. That's the beauty of it." "Yes, indeed," agreed the court officials, who in reality could not see anything, as there was nothing there to see. "I wonder if Your Majesty will be kind enough to undress so that you could try on the new clothes in front of the large mirror?" asked the two swindlers. So the emperor took off his clothes, and the swindlers pretended to dress him in the new clothes, one piece at a time. The emperor admired himself in the mirror from various angles. "How good they look, and how well they fit," everyone agreed. "What beautiful colors, and what a magnificent pattern! These are truly elegant clothes." The master of ceremonies announced that waiting outside was the canopy which will be carried above the emperor's head in the great procession. "I am ready," declared the emperor. "Doesn't my suit fit me beautifully?" he said as he glanced one last time in the mirror, pretending to admire his new clothes. The chamberlains, who were to follow the emperor in the procession carrying the train that extended from the back of his new robe, pretended to be picking something up from the floor. They didn't dare let people know that they could not see anything. So the emperor marched in the procession under the beautiful canopy, and all who saw him from the street or from their windows exclaimed, "What a marvelous suit! What a magnificent train! And how well it fits him!" Nobody wanted to admit that they couldn't see anything because they were afraid of appearing stupid or unfit for their positions. None of the emperor's suits had ever been so successful. Suddenly, a little child said, "But he has nothing on at all." "Good heavens," said the father. "Listen to what the innocent child says." People quickly whispered to each other, "He has nothing on. He has nothing on." Soon everyone was saying out aloud, "He has nothing on." By now, the emperor was feeling very foolish and ashamed because it seemed to him that the people were right. But nevertheless, he decided to finish the procession anyway. So he kept a straight face and walked as proudly as he could. Following him were the two chamberlains, who also walked proudly, carrying a train which was not there at all.